So I'm going island hopping today in Sleeping Bear National Lakeshore Park, but I keep getting canceled because they're having dock or pier issues and the ferry won't land there. Says it's not safe to let passengers off. So I finally given up. I'm going to South Manitou, which is my second choice, but doesn't look like North might even be accessible the rest of the summer, so shouldn't be too crowded. The weather's been really wet, so that probably washed a lot of people's plans out, but I'm an optimist. I think it's going to clear up, so I'm headed for Fishtown right now to catch a ferry. So this is Fishtown. Never got a confirmation on my boat ride today, so I'm going to check in early, make sure I can float. Looks like it might be a little rough out there today. So I'm on South Manitou. Weather's cleared up already. The most dangerous part of this hike is the boat ride out here. So it was pretty rough this morning. And when they start passing out barf bags, you want to see who gets one and then stay upwind from them. A lot of people seasick on this. It's an hour and a half boat ride out here, bouncing around pretty good this morning. So out here on the Manitous, there's no zone camping, and so you have to tell the rangers what campground you want to stay in. So it's a crapshoot. There were a lot of people on that boat. A YMCA group, Boy Scouts. So I don't know what I'm going to run into. I picked the furthest campground, and I hope it's not crowded. I'd love to be able to just zone camp out here. So again, I wanted to go to North, but they were having a problem with the dock. I'm not sure they're going to go out there this year, and I messed up because I could have gone on Friday. That was the first day they were going to take a load to North, and I decided to go Sunday and miss the weekend people. Well, as it turns out, the boat did take a group to North, dropped them off, and then decided it's not safe to take people out there this summer. So if I had gone on Friday, I would have actually gotten to North, and eventually they'd have to come back and get you. Lake frontage in this part of the world is about $1 million 100 front foot. So when I'm out here, I own several miles of it, which makes me a billionaire. So on this trip, instead of carrying tortillas, mustard, and bacon all separately and making my bacon wraps out in the field here, I just made some and shrink wrapped them. So all I have to do is open and eat out here and save some weight. A lot of 150-year-old farmsteads on the island. So as you walk around, you keep running into the names of the people that homesteaded here. This was back when it used to snow in Michigan. They needed a snow plow out here even, horse-drawn. State of the art in its day. Good morning. Another beautiful morning in paradise. But it did rain really hard. Thunderstorm last night. I mean, you could hear that thunder rolling all the way across Lake Michigan from Wisconsin. And then it just poured most of the night. But I've really lucked out with weather. So getting to the boat yesterday, it was raining, but we had a good float out here. And then I hiked all day on this northern side of the island, mostly historical stuff. And it wasn't until I got in my tent and got all comfy last night that it just opened up, and now this morning it's beautiful again. Looks like it can be a beautiful day. None of that rain was in the forecast, but you never know. Beautiful forest out here on the island. For this day and age, you would call it old growth. Nothing like 200 years ago when there were monarchs out here. Before this was settled, they would just cut it up, this tight grained ancient trees. They'd just cut it up into cordwood to propel steamships. No offense, guys, but I know you had to do it, right? There's Captain Haas up there. He probably had a steamship. Anyway, today I'm going to go over to the north side of the island where there's some ancient cedar trees that they didn't cut down because it's right next to a giant dune. And they're so embedded with sand that the settlers didn't cut them down because it would dull their blades. And then check out the dune area today, and I'm switching campsites today. I'm going to camp on the north side tonight. I'm sorry, south side. So before the government made it illegal to take anything off the bottom of the lakes, there was a guy 50 years ago, a diver, finding old growth virgin timber that sunk during some of these log drives. And of course they're perfectly preserved down there. Oxygen can't get to them. And he'd bring them up, and he made a lot of money selling them to European musical instrument manufacturers, because you just can't get tight grain like that anymore. And they were hungry for that wood. So we aren't going to have that kind of tight grain timber again for at least 1,000 years after we finally figure out how to efficiently wipe ourselves out and these trees can grow wild again. Well, good, we got water. This is the old schoolhouse. A lot of very smart people came out of school systems just like this. My grandfather went to a school about this size. I don't know what grade it went up to, but when he got into 6th grade, he told me the older boys had a club, and to join the club, you had to go out at recess to the outhouse, drop your drawers, fling the door open. He said, I flung the door open, and there stood the school marm. And she didn't just send me home for the day, she flunked me for the whole semester. And when he got back to the farm, my great-grandfather, George, said, well, that's real good, Lester, because we've got a lot of hay to put up. He said, I never joined anything the rest of my life. This is Florence Lake on the island, named after Captain Florence Haas, the first licensed female pilot on the Great Lakes. And she was also the mail carrier. They said from spring till ice in the late fall, she sailed to the mainland for the mail no matter what the weather was. She was a very skilled sailor, incredible lady. So these islands are really a great place to hike for solitude. You saw how crowded the boat was yesterday. I think 70 some passengers. And I think they bring another boatload of day hikers out. But even though this is about a 10-mile circumference island, people get swallowed up pretty easy, and most people come out here with a pack and a tent, or they hit the first campground by the boat dock and park it right there. So if you come out here, especially if you get up early in the morning like I do, you got this whole island to yourself, and just you and a lot of birds, a few reptiles, not a lot of mammals. This is like the Alcatraz for chipmunks, I think, out here. So the only thing I was worried about was having some chipmunk chew on my tent, which didn't happen, thank God. One thing about hiking on a small island, you get up early in the morning, change campsites. You have all day to day hike, and you've got your base camp set. So this is just one of many ships that didn't make it through the Manitou Passage. There's dozens of them laying out here. You know you're in trouble when your ship becomes a cormorant rookery. So I've been looking for these guys, northern maidenhair ferns. I'm sure you find them other places, but out here in the cedars on South Manitou is about the only place I've seen them. I knew they were out here, so I was looking for them this morning. Now I'm in a sea of them. So they're calling these old growth cedar. I guess some of the biggest in Michigan. But real old growth cedar used to be so big that Settlers had to use dynamite to split them just to get them through those giant sawmills they used to have. On top of the south end of the South Manitou, up on the high dunes, so you can just about see the whole island from up here. So you can see forever up here. This, I believe, is the tallest lighthouse on the Great Lakes. And this harbor over here was the only thing north of Chicago, or the first thing north of Chicago, where ships could tuck in a storm. It's a deep water harbor that's spit out there. Is the other end of it. Past that again is North Manitou, where I really wanted to go hike. And then shore side is the rest of Sleeping Bear National Lakeshore. That's the big dune out there where Pierce Stocking Drive goes up, and everybody likes to go down that 480-foot dune that says "Do not run." And I can tell you from experience, heed that advice. This is why I tell people this is the Jamaica of the North. Our watercolor's the same. Our temperature's just a tad bit different. Calm, flat tonight. Tomorrow when the boat goes back, it's supposed to be 15 to 30 mile an hour winds, heavy thunderstorms. So it should be a fun boat ride back. Good morning. Rained again hard all last night. In fact, there's just a big thunderstorm system sitting right over Michigan. Looks like it's parked there. You look at the whole rest of the country, it's clear, and there's just one big blob right over South Manitou Island. Should be a fun boat ride back today. I got to check in about an hour and a half, 2 hours, I don't know. You got to check in, make sure the boat's still coming, but I have till 4 to hike today, so. I was just waiting for kind of a break in the action to tear down my tent. Got my rain gear on top of my pack here because it's supposed to open up again real soon. At the boat dock here, there's visitor center, ranger residence, bathrooms, water. That building right there is always open in case somebody's tent fails in the middle of the night in a thunderstorm. I don't see anybody in there right now, but last night would have been a good test. Actually, the last 2 nights. I tried to walk out onto the spit on the other side of the harbor, but when I got almost all the way out there in the hot sun, I saw a Park Service sign saying that the piping plover nesting was going on in that area and to stay out. So I turned around. Actually, I went up into the dunes and I saw some tracks from a dog, I thought, but there's no pets allowed on the island. But I ran into the biologist on the way back. She was walking out to check the eggs, and she said there are coyotes on the island. And she said I could have kept walking as long as I stayed on the beach, but that's not what the sign said, so maybe next time.